Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Young here, and today I'm back in another Fortnite video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the #1 setting that you guys should be changing and your building settings that I feel like will help you guys build a lot faster, a lot more accurate, and as well a lot more smooth. So if you feel like your builds are very sloppy or you're not able to build the way you want to, I would recommend giving this a setting change, and this might actually help you guys out quite a bit. And real quick before we get into the video, I have a V-Buck giveaway. I'm going to be giving away 2,000 V-Bucks, and if you guys want a chance to enter this giveaway and win some free V-Bucks, all you guys have to do is to drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you guys do turn on those post notifications so you guys get notified for every single new video. And lastly, comment down below either your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account, and you guys will be automatically entered into the next giveaway. And also, if you guys like to support me in the item shop, all you guys have to do is go down to the bottom, click on support a creator, type in my code. My creator code is Young Humor, and you guys will have me added and supported as a creator. And alright guys, let's get right to the video. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you guys a very simple setting change that you guys can make that I feel like is going to help you guys out a ton when it comes to building and just helping you build a lot more accurate, a lot better, and just overall help you improve at this game. So this setting change is very simple to do, and I wanted to specifically do building because a lot of you guys have asked, hey, do you know any tips or anything you can give to help me build a lot smoother in this game? Because a lot of you guys are looking to do that to improve your creative builds or just build a lot smoother in game because it does look very satisfying or a lot better. So I'm going to give you guys a simple setting change that you guys can do, very simple, that I feel like is going to help you guys out quite a bit. So here's just the settings that I have. I have a 1.9 building sensitivity and a 2.4 editing sensitivity. And I did a video a couple of days back where I recommended increasing your editing sensitivity, which you can check out that video if you're interested. I do recommend doing that. So for building sensitivity, you have a lot of people try out different things. I've seen anything from like a 1.7, 1.8 all the way up to even a 3. I've heard some people even playing on like a 3 building sensitivity, which I find that absolutely insane, but you know what, if that works for you, then go for it. But what I would recommend doing is actually lowering your building sensitivity, and the reason why you would want to do that as opposed to raising it, because it would kind of make sense. Hey, if you want to be able to edit faster in this game, if you want to be a better builder, then you would want to raise all your senses. But that's not the case when it comes to building. You actually want to play on a lower building sensitivity, because when you play on a lower building sensitivity, it makes you a lot more accurate with your builds. You're less likely to place them all over the place, which is going to be a lot better for games because you're not going to be wasting as many materials, and the builds are going to look way smoother than if you play on a lot higher. Because when you play on a higher sensitivity, I mean, it could go with aiming, it could go with editing, anything like that. It can be a little bit more challenging because you're going to be just a little bit more sloppy, you're going to be a little bit less accurate. And when it comes to building, if you want to be a very smooth builder, if you want to have builds that look very good and very satisfying when you're building, then playing on a lower building sensitivity can actually be a very good way to do so, especially for those of you guys who play on console. And the reason why I say that is because for console, when you play on a lower FPS, you play on 60 FPS, it is a little bit more difficult, a little bit harder to track your builds. And when it comes to building, when it comes to anything, it is a little bit more difficult. Not like 10 times hard where it's impossible, but it is going to be a little bit more difficult and a little bit harder. And as you can see, when I raise my building sensitivity, I'm not used to it, but it is a little bit more sloppy. You're going to be building all over the place, and builds just aren't going to be as as clean, and it's just not going to look as good. Plus, you're going to be wasting a lot more materials when it comes to actual games. So you, of course, want to lower your building sensitivity, and I will give recommendations for sensitivity to use. But like I was mentioning just a minute ago, for those of you guys who play on console, I would recommend playing on lower sensitivity than I normally play on. Like all the settings I have here, I would recommend playing a little bit. I wouldn't play like really lower, but maybe just like a little bit, because it is a little bit harder to track on console than it is to play like myself, who plays on 240 FPS on PC with controller. So it is obviously a lot easier to track other players, and when it comes to building and editing, everything is a lot smoother, a lot better. So obviously I do have that advantage working for me in that aspect. So as far as the settings or the sensitivity that I would recommend for building, I would recommend anything. Like I tried 1.6. I was trying out other sensitivities, but those felt way too low. I would recommend anything from, I wouldn't go lower than 1.8, especially if you play against a lot of keyboard and mouse players. Like you probably want to play on at least a 1.8. I would say anything from a 1.8 to like a 2.2. But like I said, if you feel like your builds are very sloppy and you feel like your builds aren't as good, then I would recommend, I mean, whatever sensitivity you plan on, I would recommend dropping it lower. But of course, you wouldn't want to go to like a 1.4 or anything like that. I mean, that's just way too slow. It's going to be very, very difficult to, I guess, outbuild and outplay the other keyboard and mouse players, because they play on pretty much unlimited sensitivity. They can play on as high sensitivity as they want with no problems, because with mouse it is a lot easier to track, and if you want to make small movements, it's a lot easier than controller. So when it comes to controller and it comes to your sensitivity, pretty much I do recommend a lower building and a higher editing sensitivity. But this video, of course, I was specifically just focusing on building, so I would recommend just dropping it down a little bit if you feel like your builds are sloppy. And also, another thing to mention, your building sensitivity is directly correlated, is a direct correlation between your actual sensitivity and also your building and editing. So you can have a 1.9. I'll just make it simple. If you say you have a 2 building sensitivity, and say you play on a 50% X and Y sensitivity, if you move your sensitivity like I did here to a 58%, even though you still play on a 2 building sensitivity, it will in fact feel higher, and it will in fact be a lot faster, because the sensitivity that you have for building and editing is directly correlated to the X and Y that you have, your horizontal and vertical that I am adjusting here. So this directly correlates to how fast your building and editing is. So that's why when it comes to recommendations, it's kind of like an estimate, because if you play on like a 60% X and Y, then you would want to play on a little bit lower building sensitivity than someone who plays on like a 48 like myself. And so that is one thing to keep in mind, because if you play on a little bit lower sensitivity, then you might want to play on a little bit higher building. But if you play on a higher X and Y sensitivity, then you'd be more likely to play on a little bit lower building. And that's just kind of how it works. Is also another thing to keep in mind. So when I give my recommendations, like I said, you really can see exactly the where I'm coming from, and help you choose the best settings possible. Because like I mentioned, a lot of my other settings videos, when it comes to settings, everyone has their preferences. Some people like high sensitivity, some people like low sensitivity, this and that. But I would like to give my general recommendations, in which I feel like would help the most amount of people. So at the very least, I can help you choose the best sensitivity that's going to be right for you. And also lastly, I do get asked quite a bit about your dead zones, because dead zones do play a huge part on how your sensitivity feels, and basically just how everything feels in the game, editing, building, whatever the case may be. So your dead zones do play a big role on what I'm using, and of course I'll show my dead zones in just a second. But usually my recommendations is as low as you can go without having stick drift. But of course, now with this, people found out with linear or exponential settings that if you have a little bit higher or a little bit lower on your right analog stick and it stick drifts a little bit, your aim assist permanently activates, if that makes sense. You permanently have aim assist, because they found out in this game that as long as you're moving your analog stick, you're always going to have aim assist. And that's just something to also keep in mind. But usually just my general recommendation for dead zone is as low as possible without having any stick drift, because you want to have the lowest dead zones that you can, because that means your analog sticks are going to register that much quicker, and everything is going to feel a lot faster and a lot smoother. So you want to play on a very low dead zone. I play on 11% and 8%, and of course that matters. If you have an older controller and more stick drift, then you're gonna have to play on a higher dead zone. Like, just for example, my Elite 1 controller, I have to play a higher dead zone than my Elite 2, just because my Elite 2 is a little bit newer controller and my Elite 1 is a little bit older. So I'm going to have a little bit more stick drift on that controller, meaning that I'm going to have a little bit higher dead zone. I do have look dampening time on the, I guess, 11% or 0.11, and I do have this that kind of slows it down a little bit, which helps me when it comes to long range. But honestly, when it comes to just building, it basically feels like another dead zone. I have it on because it helps me with the small analog stick movements. I feel like I'm a lot more accurate and hitting a lot more shots that way, but that's just a personal preference. So as far as dead zones, like I said, my general recommendation is as low as you can without having any stick drift. And of course, everything in this video and anything when it comes to settings is 100% subjective, so it might work for one person, might not work for the other person. But those are my general recommendations. If you really want to focus on building and editing, I would recommend, it kind of sounds like counterintuitive. When you want to, increase your building speed, if you want to build a lot smoother, you would think you want to raise your building sensitivity. But I would recommend actually lowering your building sense. I feel like that can help out quite a bit, and that's something that I've done, and I actually do play on a 1.9 right now. But anyways, with that being said, that is going to wrap it up for this video. Hope you guys found this video helpful. Hope you guys found this video very useful. And if you guys could, make sure you guys do drop a like. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you guys do turn on my post notifications so you guys get notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I will see you next video.